Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the No DQ live recap of WWE NXT for July the 29th, 2020 as we get closer to the NXT TakeOver 30 pay-per-view. Adrian makes a prediction that this video will be 18 minutes long. We'll see. We'll see if I have a lot to say about NXT or maybe I'll get through it pretty quickly. Sometimes I just don't know. There are times I will start a live stream and there will be something, I get caught up in it, I start talking for a long time. Other videos, I sometimes just blow right through it, so we'll see. We kicked off NXT with a tag team match between the ladies. We had the women's champion Io Shirai teaming up with Tegan Nox against Candice LeRae and Dakota Kai. Io was making her entrance and she got jumped from behind by Dakota, and then Tegan made the save, and then Candice ran down. A huge brawl erupted. Finally, order was restored and we had a tag team match. During the match, Dakota was taunting Io to fight her, and then things broke down again, and Io did a tope to Kai on the outside of the ring, and then back in the ring, we had Tegan Nox hit the shiniest wizard to Candice LeRae. Io Shirai got back in, did her moonsault off the top, 1, 2, 3 to score the victory. Looks like we're going to be getting Io Shirai versus Dakota Kai, possibly at the upcoming TakeOver pay-per-view. Nice opening here to kick off the show. We then had footage shown from the Adam Cole incident with Pat McAfee from McAfee's show last week, and then the footage of Triple H appearing on the show was also recapped. For those of you wondering if this was possibly a shoot, well, now you know. It's part of the storyline. I'm guessing at some point we will see Pat McAfee get in the ring and do a match with Adam Cole. Interesting angle here, and I'll tell you in a little bit in regards to the Undisputed Era. But this whole thing seems to be setting up a match between these guys. Colin Andrew in the chat room says, Pat is a joke. He's that guy who thinks it's cool to rock his Letterman jacket at 35. Again, I don't know why people have an issue with him. I've enjoyed his insight and his verbal ability during the kickoff shows, the panels over the past few years. Ken says, is McAfee a tool like Michael Landsberg or Bob Costas? Yeah, for some reason, a lot of people seem to have an issue with him. I find the guy to be entertaining, but that's just me. And I say give the guy a chance in the ring and let's see what he can do. We had a singles match between Johnny Gargano and Roderick Strong, which was coming off of last week when the two of them were in a triple threat match, but they were unsuccessful in their efforts to advance to the TakeOver ladder match to crown a new North American champion. It was mentioned on commentary that both of them have been trying to build up momentum coming off of their losses. Of course, Undisputed Era trying to get things back on track. That's been a storyline. Gargano worked over the arm of Strong during the match, and then Strong countered the one final beat with a backbreaker. However, he was still selling his arm, and Gargano was able to exploit that. They ended up on the outside of the ring, and Gargano sent Strong into the plexiglass, sent him into the ring post, into the arm and shoulder, and then threw him into the plexiglass one more time, brought him back in the ring, and hit the one final beat to score the pinfall victory. Pretty solid match from these guys. Pretty much what you would expect from them. We had Dakota Kai interviewed backstage about the NXT Women's Championship. She obviously wants that match with Io Shirai. But then we had Rhea Ripley appear for the first time in several weeks, and she has blonde hair now. She dyed her hair blonde. Maybe she finally figured out the key to success. You got to be blonde to make it far in WWE. What do you guys think about her new look with the blonde hair? Do you like it? Do you think she looked better before? Let me know in the chat room, yay or nay, as far as the blonde hair goes. But bottom line here is that Rhea Ripley says she wants the opportunity at Io Shirai, and Dakota Kai said she's going to talk to Commissioner William Regal about this. So maybe we'll get a triple threat. Maybe we'll get a number one contenders match. I still think WWE really dropped the ball with Rhea, and maybe this will be her opportunity to get back in the mix and maybe win the title back. We'll see. Colin Andrews says he's not a fan of the hair, but Ken says, meh, it's fine. And Ken says he likes Ripley regardless. So there you go. We had Timothy Thatcher interviewed for the main event, another triple threat match to see who would advance to the ladder match at TakeOver. And as he was doing this interview, one of his opponents, Dexter Loomis, was lurking in the shadows, just basically staring a hole at him as he was cutting his promo for the match. We had the Undisputed Era backstage chatting it up. Kyle O'Reilly is back in the fold. The whole team, the band is back together, and they're trying to rebuild their lost momentum. Now that they don't have the championships, they gotta kick it into high gear again and be reunited. TJS with the $2 super chat says, which promo was better, Keith Lee or MJF? Lee, in my opinion. I'll get to that in just a few minutes, TJS. Let's not jump ahead too much, although we're almost there. So give me a minute and we will talk about that Keith Lee promo. We had Shotzi Blackheart versus Mercedes Martinez. Robert Stone and Aaliyah were ringside, of course, trying to help Mercedes, who is now part of the Robert Stone brand. We did have a little bit of interference where Stone was yelling at Shotzi on the outside, saying that she's pathetic. But Mercedes really did not need the distraction. This was pretty much a one-sided match. And Mercedes ended up doing a release German suplex onto Shotzi from the top rope and then finished her off to score the 1-2-3. No big surprises here. Mercedes is the one that's really getting the push at this time. And, Shotzi's basically been in this comedy storyline with Robert Stone. Pretty much a glorified squash match. We had a vignette for this newcomer, Ridge Holland, and they showed clips of him playing soccer. I'm not sure if he was in NXT UK or not, so don't crucify me, guys, if he was, but I'm not really familiar with him. So if he was competing in NXT UK, I don't watch the shows, so don't really know much about him. And Colin says he is part of NXT UK. He'll be making his NXT USA debut on next week's show. Colin says he's a beast. TJS says NXT UK was so boring to me. I mean, nothing against NXT UK. It's just too much TV content, and I have to set my priorities straight. Got to watch the main roster stuff, and then AEW, and then if I get time, maybe AEW Dark, and of course, regular NXT. So there's a lot of content, and when I go down the pecking order, the UK basically takes a back seat. But I do try to check out the UK pay-per-views. I believe the next one is scheduled for October, but my gut feeling is it's probably not going to happen. Harley says he's a former rugby player. Is it rugby or soccer? I don't even know the difference. Remember, I'm not a sports guy, so I barely know what the American sports are, let alone the ones that are popular outside the USA. We had Keith Lee come to the ring for an in-ring promo. And this is what TJS was bringing up earlier. Wanted my thoughts if this was better than the MJF promo. So Keith Lee basically brought up his fallen compadre, Dominic Dijakovic, who he referred to as Dijak. Makes me wonder if that's going to be his new name moving forward. Shorten the name. Sounds like a pretty typical WWE thing to do. Kind of sounds like Ryback almost, or Goldberg, the 2 syllables, Dijak. I mean, I'm fine with it. I figured they would shorten the name at some point. So basically, Keith Lee said that Dijak is a grown man. He'll be just fine. But now, Karrion Kross has his attention. And Colin Andrew points out that this was his indie name, Dijak. Fair enough. So Keith Lee was upset, saying that what Kross did was some bullshit. And it was censored. He said it twice, censored 2 times. And he said he's calling out Kross to confront him in the ring, man to man. But instead, we had Cameron, don't call him Rick Grimes, come out. And Grimy, said that everybody should be talking about him. He's going to win the NXT title. He was going to win the North America title before Lee forfeited it. And he is going to go straight to the moon. Of course, we all knew where this was going. We saw Grimes get beat up by Lee. And then Scarlett appeared by the entranceway. And Lee gave Grimes the Spirit Bomb. And then we finally had the man himself, Karrion Kross, appear on the big screen. And he said that Lee has 2 choices. The easy way, he gets his title shot, or the hard way, Lee doesn't even want to know what that is. And then he said everybody will suffer, TikTok, all that stuff. Lee then responded to this by saying that Kross can pick the time, pick the place, and he will whoop that ass. I did think this was a very good promo from Keith Lee. I did like it. However, I give the edge to MJF. I thought MJF had the shining moment of either show. So, got to give it to MJF overall, but Keith Lee did a perfectly fine job. Nice build up to set up their match. We then had a tag team match with the team known as Imperium, the tag team champions, up against Everrise. Pretty much a glorified squash match. Imperium won with the European Bomb. The real story here was after the match, they started to cut this promo talking about how they are the standard bearers of the tag team division, when all of a sudden, the entire Undisputed Era ran down to the ring, 4-on-2 beatdown, and Adam Cole was screaming, "We are the ones that run NXT." And what I found interesting here, so earlier I talked about the Pat McAfee angle, and that appears to be leading to a match. And, Adam Cole was acting very heelish, of course, walking off on the interview after being called short. What was interesting here to me was that the crowd, the PC fans, and, they're conditioned to react a certain way, they were cheering for the UE, which makes me wonder, are the UE turning face? Are we getting Undisputed Era versus Imperium at TakeOver? Is Walter coming back? I mean, clearly Imperium would be the heels here. So I'm curious to see where this is going. I mean, maybe we're just going to get a tag team title match and Cole will do something with Pat McAfee, or maybe, Pat teaming up with Imperium doesn't make any sense. So I am a little bit curious as to where this is all going. But, this kind of felt like a face turn for the Undisputed Era, considering even though it was 4-on-2, the UK guys were getting beat down by the 4 Americans. I mean, the PC crowd was cheering for UE. Now, I got a $5 super chat from Mike B. He says, Cameron looks like he could have been a Wyatt family member. Hope you're doing good, Aaron. Maybe the stand-up comedy version of the Wyatt family. If they were going to be a comedy act, Cameron Grimes would have been perfect for the Wyatt family, that's for sure. But, you know, just like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you got the one guy who tells the jokes and who's funny. So maybe he could have been like that sadistic comedian member of the Wyatt family, but you know, they took it a different route, and obviously Cameron Grimes came in way later, so wouldn't have been possible. Moving on here, we had a Bronson Reed video package, and he was walking around in Australia, I guess. There was all this street art, which is something that he grew up around, but he talked about how he was a big fan of wrestling, and his wife gave him the money to train for wrestling. Pretty cool story here, you know, that his wife was the one that helped him follow his dreams. And he talked about the biggest win of his career, advancing to the North American Championship ladder match at TakeOver. He said, nothing's going to stop him now. His body is built for destruction. Nobody has the fighting spirit. And he said, the big boy dream, just like Shawn Michaels with the boyhood dream coming true, the big boy dream is going to come true at TakeOver. If Bronson Reed goes to the main roster, why do I feel like Vince McMahon will give him the big boy gimmick, you know, from Bob's Big Boy? Like he'll end up teaming with Otis. They'll be the big boys. Oh man, Don't let Vince get a hold of Bronson Reed, because then he'll totally end up being a comedian. And Cameron Grimes too. If Cameron Grimes ever got to the main roster, you know he'll just end up a total comedy figure, even more so than he is now. We had Finn Balor getting ready backstage for the Triple Threat main event, and Dexter Loomis was once again lurking in the shadows, watching Balor. We had William Regal do a little Zoom interview, talk about how he's not going to be bullied into making championship matches. Opportunities will be earned. So I'm guessing Dakota Kai and Rhea Ripley will probably have a match to determine the number one contender, and maybe we get Karrion Kross versus somebody in a number one contenders match. Adrian with a $2 super chat says, is Big Richard Johnson a big boy, Aaron? He was a big boy, but not a big enough boy to keep a job in WWE, I guess. Moving on here, we had Isaiah Swerve Scott up against Jake Atlas in a cruiserweight match. And a pretty decent match between these two, although it's hard for me to really feel very invested in the cruiserweight division right now. But both of these guys have been putting out some good performances as of late. Atlas did this really cool move off the top rope. I'm not even sure what you would call it. It was this, he had him up on his shoulders and did this twisting slam off the top. Got an ear fall on it. But in the end, it was Swerve who hit the house call kick on the outside of the ring, brought him back in the ring, and then hit the JLM driver to pick up the victory. And it was teased that he'll be getting a future opportunity at the Cruiserweight Championship. We then had Damian Priest interviewed backstage, and he was hyping up his triple threat match, which is next week against Oney Lorcan and the debuting Ridge Holland. He said he's going to be the new North American champion, and he said he's not going to overlook his opponents. However, He said, unlike Bronson Reed's victory, there will be no upset this time, and the favorite will indeed win and advance to the TakeOver ladder match. We then had our main event match, which was Finn Balor versus Timothy Thatcher and Dexter Loomis. I'm mad because Dexter has new entrance music. Doesn't sound quite as much like Stranger Things as it used to sound. I preferred the old theme. I liked the little homage to Stranger Things. This one's a bit more generic sounding, so I'm disappointed in that. Dexter did all of his weird stuff. He did this one somersault dive over the top and landed on his feet. Dexter ended up putting on his submission, the silence, but Balor ended up coming off the top with a coup de grace to Dexter. Went for the cover, but then Timothy Thatcher broke up the pin, and then Thatcher put on the ankle lock to Balor. Balor, because it was a triple threat match, could not get to the ropes. He would have to somehow break out of the move, but before he could even tap out or get out of the hold, we had Dexter put the silence onto Thatcher, and Thatcher ended up passing out, losing this match. A little interesting here because WWE has been building up Thatcher so strongly in recent weeks. You know, he's the guy that ran Matt Riddle out of NXT onto the main roster, and here he is losing in a triple threat. He did pass out, did not tap out, so I guess that's fine. And, of course, Balor did not take the fall. Somebody had to take the fall. Dexter Loomis advances to the ladder match. Colin Andrews said the ending was good and it protected Balor. Well, there you go. So that was NXT this week. I thought it was a decent show, but this may be unpopular. I didn't think it was great or anything. I was watching it. Maybe it was because a lot of what I watched was the day after, but I felt like this was very skippable. I felt like I really didn't need to watch this show. When I was watching it through, I'm like, you know what? Didn't really miss a whole lot on Wednesday night. The game is on 100 with a $5 super chat. So before I get to the letter grade here, says off topic, Cameron, who can't wrestle and can't do Jack and Champs versus Stars on Challenge. Why would AEW sign her? Makes AEW women look bad, in my opinion. I'll get to that in a second. I'll answer your question in more detail. I'm giving NXT a C+. So I may get some negative feedback for this one. It wasn't a bad show, but I thought it was just okay by NXT standards. Still better than the majority of Smackdowns and better than almost every Raw. But I think for NXT, just didn't feel like a must-see show. Like, I feel like they're just going through the motions. And the motions are good. The matches are good and all that stuff, but just didn't really stand out to me. And I felt like if you missed this show, you didn't miss a whole lot. So Adrian gives it a C. And Ken says he agrees NXT wasn't great. Mike B gives it a B. Game is on 100 with a B-. Colin Andrew gives it a solid B. And Colin's a diehard NXT guy, so it's going to be hard to get anything less than a B from him. In Zamasu We Trust gives it a B. Kirk gives it a C-. So there, somebody gave a lower grade than me. Matt Helms with a C+. CC Drink with a B-. And Kev with a C+. Shaddy Snake with a C-. Jeremy Dorset with an A-. And Again, it might not be a fair comparison because I was more focused on AEW on Wednesday night and I was watching that as the focal point. But I just felt like AEW was a more eventful show. You know, you had Zack Ryder, the former Zack Ryder, show up. You had Cameron appear. You had Moxley. I mean, AEW just feels like it has more star power. Obviously, NXT is the developmental league. But, you know, I'm feeling like Undisputed Era needs to do something different, whether they get called up or break the group up. Like, I feel like they're just on a treadmill right now. I feel like even though Johnny Gargano got his win, he's on a treadmill right now. You know, they're building up Dexter Loomis. They're building up the Karrion Kross match with Keith Lee, which is good. But even the women's division, like I said, Rhea Ripley, she's back, but I feel like she's lost so much ground since earlier this year. So I'm just looking at the people in NXT, and there's like nobody that I'm like watching this and I'm like, wow, you know, one of the best acts they had, Matt Riddle, is on SmackDown now. Mike says the dual shows are better. Aaron gets to speak more on the characters in depth. I'm just looking at everybody, and you know, Drake Maverick hasn't done anything. They did do that video package on Swerve Scott, and he's all right, but still nothing that's really blowing me away. Like I like what they're doing with Santos Escobar, but he wasn't even on this show this week from what I saw. Ken thinks that Rhea Ripley will be able to bounce back. I agree, but I don't know what else there is to do other than have her win the NXT title back. So to answer that question about the other Cameron, who's in AEW now, I don't really understand it. I guess she's trying to make a comeback in wrestling. She's been pretty inactive in recent times, and AEW's giving her a chance, but it could end up being a detriment to AEW if they start hiring every single former WWE star. And I don't think she was on the list of people that fans wanted to see get signed to AEW. But hey, I say give her a chance. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not even sure on this. I believe she was the one that said Melina versus Alicia Fox. All right, Caitlin's nodding at me. I'm correct on that one. That was her favorite match of all time. So that has pretty much screwed her over forever. People always will make fun of her for that. But I say give her a chance and see what she can do. Mike says, what do you think of AEW pushing a second-rate Stone Cold? See, I never saw Moxley as doing Stone Cold's gimmick. I think MJF was just trying to say, oh, Moxley comes out and acts like a tough guy, and, you know, that's doing a Stone Cold knockoff. So I don't really see it that way, but that's what makes MJF's promo good, because if I felt like he was being honest, then he wouldn't be a good heel. He's supposed to stretch the truth and lie. I don't see anything Stone Cold and Moxley, really. I think Moxley does his own thing, you know, and he uses profanity, but that doesn't necessarily make him a Stone Cold knockoff. So anyways, NXT was all right, but didn't feel like I missed a whole lot. I definitely felt AEW was the stronger show this week. Thank you guys for tuning in. And again, if you like this format, let me know. If you want me to go back to the old format, let me know as well. Give me your feedback. Let me know what you want me to talk about for future streams. I'm very curious to know what you guys thought. So drop a comment and please spread the word. If you did enjoy this, tell a friend. Spread the word best you can. Word of mouth goes a long way. And I will see you guys next time. Stay positive. Be safe. Take care, everybody.